Welcome back. Our next guest is Professor Ernest Ojukwu, the immediate past Deputy Director General and Head of Campus of the Nigerian Law School, Enugu. Before his appointment, he was Associate Professor and Dean Faculty of Law, Abia State University from 1995 to 2001. Professor Ojukwu was conferred with the rank of Senior Advocate of Nigeria in 2014. I began by asking if he thinks that the bar has engaged government enough on behalf of the Nigerian people.
I do agree. Obviously, the bar has not spoken out in recent times. It's been shocking. The silence of the bar has been shocking on many respects regarding issues concerning the citizens and the nation. And one of the ways you need the profession actually need to assist the government in its governance. And so sometimes when you speak out, it's not to criticize them. You speak out to help them, to draw attention to issues which they may not have paid enough attention on. So it's important to continue to speak out on behalf of the citizens.
The present administration came to power on the back of some campaign promises that it would tackle insecurity, corruption, and uphold the rule of law. How would you assess how well they've done in all these areas?
My assessment is that the government has done very poorly on those issues. If you look at anti-corruption fight, they have only taken it as prosecution of a few people, which is just a token. They have not dealt with the foundational issues relating to corruption in the country. Go through the different facets of our structure. They have not dealt with the education part, which is the foundation for fighting corruption issues. They have not dealt with reorientation. And there are so many things that have not done well. Even the investigation, they have not prepared the anti-corruption agencies, equip them properly to do the fight in the real sense. If you talk about rule of law, I think on record, even though we don't have statistics right now, but based on the field reports, this government has disobeyed more orders of courts, disobeyed orders even coming from Supreme Court. They have flouted and abused human rights. There are more detentions of people without trial. There is a major complaint against the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, the SARS, dehumanizing people. There's accusations against the military. Military people have also, because they're embedded in the civilian territory, they are also abusing human rights to an extent that they're uncontrollable now. Even the abuse of human rights has been extended to lawyers who go to represent clients in the detention centers. On security, it's evident that the government is unable to manage security for us. Remember a few days ago, our president went to the Middle Belt and asked us to pray. And therefore, there's a problem. If the president is feeling that weak, then it means there's a problem with management of security.
As president of the NBA, if you do win, what would you do differently to galvanize the bar, to speak out more and engage government on these issues?
Yeah, first is to speak out. Identify issues that we need to speak on, not just from a critical point of view, but as a way to assist government in the governance. We identify areas they require us to help them with law reform, because some of the areas may require law reform. We will ask, for example, in relation to obedience to court orders, that we amend our constitution and make disobedience to court orders a crime. We will also go for making abuse of human rights by public officers a crime. We will make it a condition on the code of conduct for public officers for dismissal as indiscipline. Those are the kind of things we're going to pursue. I'm going to pursue it very strongly.
As an academic, it must get to you when people say that the standards of education has fallen, including the standards of legal education. Why do you think we're getting it wrong with raising the standards?
It is true. There are many problems with our legal education. First, where our traditional teaching is not helpful in this century. And we have not been able to drive a reform that gets our teachers move from traditional teaching to a modern way of teaching. We have not identified very fundamental issues in our education like ethics. It's not part of our curriculum at the LLB level. And there's a large number of students in most classrooms. The law school, legal education is stadium-based, where more than 1,600 people are assembled in a hall, in a lecture, where they are supposed to be trained in vocations. That cannot be done, no matter how good the curriculum is. And law school has been able to reform its curriculum in the last many years. It's a good curriculum, but the delivery is ineffective because it's still stadium-based education. There are so many problems with our legal education. The Nigerian Bar Association, which is the body that is supposed to have the strongest oversight over the training of its new entrants, is disinterested. For the past many years, they've been very, very disinterested.
Prof, but there's this allegation out there that you were made chairman of the Continuing Legal Education Committee of the NBA and that you didn't really do much in that regard.
I wasn't actually chairman, I was the director. I actually established the Institute of Continuing Legal Education for the Bar in 2007 when President Olisa Bakoba was president of the bar. And I set it up for the bar. I drafted the rules and the guidelines which the bar approved and hired the first staff. And nearly about 3 years of running the program very effectively across the country in zones. The next presidents didn't see the same vision. And that's when the institute and the program died, when I ceased to be director. That's when it collapsed.
So it's wrong for people to say that you didn't do much?
Yeah, nobody else has done anything on it. The rules are there. It's for us to implement it. It just requires somebody with a will to carry out the vision of the bar.
I want to get your thoughts on the young lawyers because they're a critical mass. Do you think the average young lawyer is satisfied with the state of the legal profession? And if you do become president of the bar, what can the young lawyers look forward to?
Yeah, the average young lawyer is totally dissatisfied. In fact, they are not part of the legal profession. We have not given them any transitional program to move them into the bar. They feel like they're strangers, which is true. When over 7,000 lawyers are called to the bar every year in the last few years, they get to the Supreme Court and enroll. And that's the last they hear about the profession, and they are forced to pay practice fees. Nobody does any program, counseling program, incubator programs, to give them a transition into the profession. And so they are left on their own, right there in the cloud, moving around without gainful employment or underemployment. And so I would focus on the young lawyers, because without them, the bar will collapse.
Another allegation that I would like you to respond to is that as chairman of the Governing Council of the Eastern Bar Forum, you were well known as a stickler for discipline. In fact, you're reputed to have walked out some members during meetings, all in a bid to maintain discipline. Some people now argue that it amounts to double standards, that you're not supporting the adoption of candidates as resolved by the same bar forum. What's your reaction to that?
Actually, I was the founder of that association. When we created the association, it was based on consent. It's a free membership organization. It's not part of the bar. There are only about 100 and not more than 150 members as of today. So it's something voluntary. And part of what we agreed was that if we came to the process of election at the bar, those who wanted to be considered to be adopted by that forum would submit a letter for undertaking to be bound by the decision. So we never went after anybody that didn't submit any letter for adoption. So those who didn't submit were never part of our organization process. So you deal with those who submit, and only those who submit and disobey it that you can sanction. So there's no problem about not submitting to them. It's a consent thing. Then the other one is that at the time we created that provision, it was based on delegate system. And there was also no agreed arrangement on the rotation of some positions in the country. And so certain positions like president was open to every region to contest. And therefore we needed, since it was delegate system and delegates must represent a group of people, you needed to have delegates to agree to represent the people. But now we have moved from delegate system to universal voting. Everybody represents himself or herself, no more a group of people. And therefore, the process of adoption is unnecessary, it's undemocratic, and it can only you can't force people who don't want to be considered to come on board to be considered. So those who are saying so don't understand the process.
And that's the program this week. Please feel free to send in your comments. Do also remember that you can watch this episode and past episodes of the program on our YouTube channel. Next week on the program, we'll feature the third presidential candidate, Mr. Arthur Obi Okafor. Please keep a date with us. I'm Shola Shayeli. Many thanks for watching.